Here I've got the Mixbox on a clav track, and I've got some automation written for this wah pedal. Let's do a little before and after, and then we'll take it apart. It's a nice, polite, clean clav sound. A lot more personality. And you see as the automation is happening, the wah pedal is moving. Let's turn that off for a moment just so we're not distracted, and we'll take a look at what's going on with each of these modules, although certainly the wah is the centerpiece of the character of this sound. So back to the clean version. Crusher under distortion. Very little. Have it on 3. And then some overdrive. And I've got it pulled down a little bit. Just want to keep a bit of gain staging in place. I can probably bring it up a little bit. And then from there, going into the wah. The idea is that we move the pedal to move through the different resonant frequency range, or the frequency range with the resonant boost. This sets the depth, so there it goes pretty low, all the way up high. And if I dial this up, we'll get a narrower depth or range. So we'll leave it like that so we get a nice wide amount. And let's put the automation back on. So it adds some nice movement to it. It's a wah pedal, basically. Into the knee VQ. And I'm just using this to cut 1K. That's really all I'm using that for. And now some phaser. There's some really nice modulation effects here. I want to try and go through as many of them as I can. So here, we can sync this to tempo. Right now it's free. That's nice and slow and subtle. Or we can sync it. Nice and slow like that is nice. So it adds a nice kind of depth to it. We can go with quarter notes. And then a limiter. Just with these resonant peaks in the wah, there can be some real notches that jump out, so just containing it a bit. And then some of the room reverb. And again, with the color up around 1 o'clock, it's moderately bright, moderate in terms of the bright versus dark, damping. And in context. Here's a percussive synth. Transformed. To start off with, I'm feeding it through the EQ comp, just to soften it a little bit with compression and some EQ before it goes into this really interesting LFO-based filter. So here I've got it synced to quarter notes with a low-pass filter. But I got it set nicely with the right amount of resonance. So it's not too sharp. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but a bit warmer. But just a bit of movement. You can go with a lower depth for subtler effect. Or deeper. That's nice and smooth to me right around there. And that's low pass. We can also do band pass or high pass. And from here into another one of the interesting modulation effects, the phaser. Nice, thick 8-stage setting in this case. Modest depth, modest feedback, nice spread, modest rate. It's a preset, in fact. And then into the inverse reverb for an interesting gated kind of space. We've got this set with the dry-wet ratio. It's an interesting reverb. There's different types. Got more of a noticeable delay in it. I like that one the best. Off. And in. Here's a sustained synth pad transformed into this. So let's take a look at what's going on. To start with, I'm using a really interesting module here called the slicer, which we get at under the modulation section. And it basically is a gating effect where it'll gate the input with rhythmic patterns. So let me solo this. We have the speed that we can sync to tempo, and I have it at 16th notes. And there's different rhythms. Let's solo it with the drums. Off beats. On beats. And different rhythms. And you can have various depths. So you can blend it with the original input signal, which is interesting too. And here we're getting longer notes. You can see representation of the rhythm in the graphic. They all work. I'm going to go back to 13, which is what I originally had. Next is a filter. And I'm automating the frequency. And this is one of the many interesting filters available in the filter menu. Can overdrive it, which I don't really need to do. And we can have a 24 dB slope per octave or 12. Let's try that with the different rhythms. So they're all interesting. From there into some delay. With a fair amount of dry wet. So I want the effect. And then into a flanger. For a nice stereo chorusy style modulation. And we can experiment with the delay after or before the flanger. They each have their own vibe. Or before it. I kind of like the delays first. And this is set pretty conservatively, but there's again a wide range of what's possible. I'm going to blend this in a bit more subtly. And we can sync the flanger to tempo. For a more pronounced flanging type of effect. So all kinds of interesting possibilities. We'll continue with more in the next video.